Jake Morrison stood at the big window of the Earthship called Horizon. He watched as the alien ship came closer to theirs. The aliens were called Zephyrians, and they were much smarter than humans. Their cities were huge, covering whole continents. They knew things about space that humans could only dream about. But something felt wrong to Jake. He could not figure out what it was. Dr. Lisa Hayes walked up to him. She was the scientist who studied aliens. "Tomorrow we start sharing our cultures," she said, looking at her notes. "I still think we are missing something important. Why do they want to learn about us so much?" The Zephyrian leader, Cathvar, had asked to see human old ways and simple survival methods. It sounded like they thought humans were stupid. But Jake had said yes anyway. After all, humans were new to this group of space-traveling species. The next day, Captain Rick Chun decided to show the aliens something simple. He told his crew to make a campfire in the ship's fun room. It was just a small fire, nothing special. But when the flames started to dance, something amazing happened. Every single Zephyrian in the room jumped back in fear. Their eyes went wide. Their translator machines started making strange noises, like they could not understand what the aliens were saying. The Zephyrians were making sounds that seemed like screaming, but their machines could not translate the words. "Commander Morrison," Cathvar's voice shook as it came through the translator. How do you control the destroying flame without dying?" Jake looked at Lisa with confusion. She looked just as puzzled as he felt. "It's just fire," Jake said slowly. "We have been using it for hundreds of thousands of years. We cook food with it. We use it to stay warm. We use it for light when it's dark. We use it to keep dangerous animals away." The room went completely quiet. Cathvar's big eyes, which had many parts like an insect's eyes, stared at the fire. The alien looked scared and amazed at the same time. Lisa stepped forward. "Is there something wrong with the fire?" she asked. "It's completely safe. Look." She held her hand near the flames, but not close enough to get burned. "We just keep it controlled. We feed it wood and oxygen, and it gives us heat and light." The Zephyrians made more strange sounds. Their translator finally started working again. "You speak of the cosmic destroyer as if it were a pet," Cathvar said. "This is impossible. No living thing can be near the hungry flames and survive." Rick Chun decided to show them more. He picked up a stick and held it in the fire until it caught flame. Then he used the burning stick to light a torch. The Zephyrians moved even further back, pressing themselves against the walls. "We call this a torch," Rick explained. "Humans have used fire like this for thousands of years. Before we had electricity, fire was our main source of light at night." One of the younger Zephyrians, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "On our world, when the destroying flame appears, whole cities die. The flame eats everything. It grows and grows until nothing is left. How do you make it stop growing?" Jake realized they were dealing with something much bigger than cultural differences. "We learned how to control it," he said. "We put it in safe places, like fireplaces made of stone. We keep water nearby to put it out if it gets too big. We only burn things that we want to burn." Lisa was thinking fast. She was a scientist, and her mind was working on the puzzle. "Cathvar," she said, "can you tell me about your home planet? What is it like?" "Our world has much methane in the air," the alien leader explained. "If the destroying flame ever appeared there, it would eat our entire atmosphere. The whole planet would become a ball of fire. This is why we fear it so much." The pieces started to fit together in Lisa's mind. "And other alien species? What are their worlds like?" "The crystalline collective lives on worlds made of living crystal. The flame would melt their bodies and their cities. The aquatic union lives completely underwater. They have never seen flame except in their nightmares about the surface world. Jake felt a chill run down his back. "Lisa," he said quietly, "are you thinking what I'm thinking?" She nodded. "I think we might be the only species in the galaxy that learned to control fire instead of being destroyed by it." The campfire continued to burn peacefully in the middle of the room. To the humans, it was just a normal fire. To the Zephyrians, it was like watching someone play with a nuclear bomb. "We need to learn more about this," Lisa said. "This could change everything we know about our place in the universe." Kethvar was still staring at the fire. "Your species does the impossible," the alien whispered. "You have tamed the force that destroys worlds." Jake looked around the room. At his crew, they all had the same expression on their faces. They were starting to understand that being human might be much more special than they had ever imagined. The fire crackled softly, completely unaware that it had just started a revolution in galactic thinking. Lisa Hayes could not sleep for 3 days. She spent all her time talking to the Zephyrian scientists. What she learned made her realize that everything humans thought about themselves was wrong. "Jake, you need to hear this right now." Lisa called him to the communication room. Her voice was shaking with excitement. "I have been talking to their evolution scientist, Zemnek. Every single smart species they have met in space has one thing the same. They all evolved on worlds where fire was impossible or deadly." She turned on the holographic displays that showed dozens of alien planets. "Look at this carefully. The Zephyrians evolved on a planet full of methane gas in the air. Any spark would have made the whole planet explode. The Crystalline Collective developed on a world made entirely of living crystal. Fire would melt their bodies completely. The Aquatic Union's home world was all ocean, with no land at all." Jake studied the information on the screens. His mind was racing to understand what this meant. But that cannot be right. Fire is everywhere in the universe. Stars are giant balls of fire. Solar flares shoot fire into space. Volcanoes make fire on most planets. "That's exactly the point," Lisa said, getting more excited. "Most species had to develop in places that were naturally protected from fire. They lived underground, deep in oceans, or in atmospheres where fire could not exist. They learned to use electricity instead. They learned to control gravity. Some even learned to bend space and time. But fire always stayed the great destroyer, a cosmic terror that ended civilizations." Pete Williams, who was working on his computer nearby, looked up from his work. "Are you saying that we are the only ones who learned to be friends with fire?" Lisa nodded seriously. "Not just learn to be friends with it. We are apparently the only species that had to learn or die. Earth was a perfect storm of conditions that made fire control not just possible, but necessary to survive. We had lightning, strikes starting fires. We had volcanoes making fire. We had dry seasons when everything could burn. We had lots of things that could catch fire easily. We either learned to control fire or we would have gone extinct." Jake sat down heavily in a chair. "So every other species in the galaxy is afraid of fire because their evolution never forced them to deal with it." "It's even worse than that," Lisa explained. "Fire was so dangerous on their worlds that any species that tried to use it died out completely. Only the species that avoided fire survived long enough to become smart and build civilizations." She pulled up more data on the screens. "Look at this. The Zephyrians have technology that can manipulate matter at the atomic level. But they power it all with cold fusion and magnetic fields. The Crystalline Collective can grow cities from thought alone. But they use bioelectrical energy. Every species developed amazing technologies, but none of them involve combustion." Pete was getting excited now, too. "That means all the fire-based technology we take for granted. Internal combustion engines, rockets, even simple things like candles and matches. None of them have ever thought of these things?" "Exactly," Lisa said. And more than that, all the things we learned from controlling fire, metallurgy, cooking, ceramics, glassmaking, chemical processing. These are all completely alien concepts to them. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the Zephyrian ship. It was huge and beautiful, made of materials that seemed to glow with their own light. They have better technology than us in almost every way, he said. But they cannot do the one thing that a human child learns to do safely. That's right. Lisa agreed. A human child can light a match, blow out a candle, or roast marshmallows over a campfire. But the most advanced species in the galaxy would see that child as someone with godlike powers. The communication system beeped. It was a message from Kethvar. Dr. Hayes, we have been discussing your demonstration with our Science Council. We would like to ask you many questions about your relationship with the destroying flame. Lisa looked at Jake. I think we are about to become very popular, she said. Over the next few hours, Lisa found herself answering questions that seemed simple to her, but were apparently revolutionary to the aliens. How do humans keep fire from spreading? How do they make it start when they want it to? How do they make it stop when they want it to stop? How do they use it to change the shape of metal? How do they use it to make food safer to eat? The most amazing thing, Zendek said through the translator, is that you speak of controlling the intensity of the flame. You make it hotter or cooler as needed. On our world, flame is always maximum destruction. There is no control. Lisa realized she was witnessing a historic moment. We have learned to make fire work for us instead of against us, she explained. We discovered that fire needs three things to exist: fuel, oxygen, and heat. If we control these three things, we can control the fire. Impossible, another Zephyrian scientist said. The destroying flame consumes all fuel, uses all oxygen, and creates endless heat. It cannot be controlled. But it can, Lisa said patiently. Watch this. She took out a small camping stove and lit it. The blue flame burned steadily. This fire will only burn the gas I give it. When I turn off the gas, the fire stops. She demonstrated by turning the control knob. The flame went out immediately. The silence from the alien scientists was complete. Finally, Kethvar spoke. Dr. Hayes, I think you do not understand what you have just shown us. You have demonstrated control over the force that we believed could never be controlled. This changes everything we thought we knew about the universe. Jake joined the conversation. What do you mean, changes everything? Commander Morrison, Kethvar said, there are thousands of worlds in the galaxy that we have marked as forbidden. Worlds rich in resources, worlds in perfect positions for colonies, worlds that could solve many of our problems. But we cannot go there because they have the destroying flame. Volcanic activity, combustible atmospheres, proximity to fire-producing stars. These worlds have been empty for millions of years because no species could survive there. Lisa felt her heart racing. And you think humans could survive on these worlds? More than survive, Kethvar said. If you can truly control the destroying flame as you claim, you could thrive on worlds that would kill any other known species in the galaxy. Jake looked at Lisa, and she looked back at him. They both realized at the same moment that humanity had just found their ticket to the stars. News about humanity's special relationship with fire spread through the Galactic Council very quickly. Within just a few days, representatives from 17 different alien species had asked to meet with the human expedition. Jake Morrison found himself in a position he never expected, humanity's first ambassador to the stars. Commander Morrison, Admiral Susan Parker's voice came through the long-distance communicator from Earth. You need to understand what you have discovered. The Galactic Council has been stuck for hundreds of years on exploring what they call fire worlds. These are planets full of valuable resources, but they think they are too dangerous because of volcanoes, flammable atmospheres, or being too close to stars. Jake was now sitting in the biggest meeting room he had ever seen. The room was on a massive Zephyrian space station, and it was filled with aliens from all over the galaxy. They all wanted to understand how humans could do the impossible, control fire. The meeting room was incredible. It was so big that Earth's largest stadium could fit inside it. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors. The ceiling showed a real-time view of the stars outside. And everywhere Jake looked, he saw aliens that were completely different from anything he had imagined. "You speak of controlling the cosmic destroyer like it is a simple tool," said Sethka, who represented the serpentine hegemony. She looked like a giant snake with arms and spoke with a hissing voice. "Our ancestor stories tell of entire star systems that were eaten by the hungry flames." Dr. Lisa Hayes stood up to speak to the huge gathering. Even with her voice amplified by the alien technology, she seemed very small in the enormous room. "What you call the cosmic destroyer, we call a partner," she said. "Yes, fire is dangerous. We have learned that lesson through thousands of years of burns, forest fires, and destroyed cities. But we also learned that fire can be contained, directed, and used for good." She gestured to a holographic display that showed human history. Every major step forward in human development involved fire. The Bronze Age, when we learned to make stronger tools. The Iron Age, when we learned to make even better tools. The Industrial Revolution, when we learned to use fire to power machines. Even our space program depends on controlled explosions to launch rockets. The room erupted in sounds that Jake had never heard before. Dozens of different species were making their versions of amazed sounds. There was chittering, clicking, humming, whistling, and buzzing. It was like being in the middle of the world's strangest orchestra. A representative from the Crystalline Collective spoke next. Her body looked like it was made of living diamonds, and her voice sounded like wind chimes. "We have computational models that show fire consuming entire planets within solar cycles. How do you prevent this cascade destruction?" Lisa smiled. "We learned through trial and error over hundreds of thousands of years. We learned to make fire breaks, which are areas where fire cannot spread. We learned to build with materials that do not burn easily. We learned to keep water and sand nearby to put out fires when they get too big. But most importantly," Jake added, standing up, "we learned to respect fire. We know it can be dangerous, so we are always careful with it. We teach our children from a very young age how to be safe around fire." An alien from the Aquatic Union, who looked like a cross between a dolphin and an octopus, spoke through a water-filled communication device. "In our deepest philosophical texts, fire represents the end of all existence." "You are saying you have made friends with the end of existence itself." "Not friends exactly," Lisa explained. "More like ... partners who respect each other. Fire gives. Use heat, light, and power. In return, we give it fuel and oxygen, but only as much as we want to give it. We have learned to work together." The questions kept coming for hours. How do humans sleep safely near fire? How do they transport fire from one place to another? How do they make fire hotter or cooler? How do they use fire to change solid materials into liquid and back again? Each answer seemed to amaze the alien representatives more. Things that were completely normal to humans were like magic to them. "Commander Morrison," said a representative from the Ethereal Collective, whose body seemed to be made of glowing gas, "we have been monitoring your planet's electromagnetic signatures for the past several cycles. We detected frequent combustion events across your entire world. We assumed your species was in a constant state of planetary emergency." Jake laughed. Those were probably just people cooking dinner, heating their homes, or running their cars. On Earth, We have millions of controlled fires burning every day. It's so normal to us that we don't even think about it. The silence that followed was the deepest yet. Finally, Kethvar spoke. Commander Morrison, Dr. Hayes, I think you still do not fully understand what you represent. In all our exploration of the galaxy, across thousands of worlds and millions of years, we have never encountered a species that survived the cosmic destroyer, much less learned to control it. What does that mean for us? Jake asked. It means, said a new voice, that you have just become the most valuable species in the galaxy. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. At the back of the room, a figure in a dark robe was approaching. As it got closer, Jake could see that it was unlike any alien he had seen so far. It seemed to be made of pure energy, with no solid form. I'm Void Singer, representing the Ancient Collective, the figure said. We are the oldest species in the galaxy, and we have been watching this meeting with great interest. The fire worlds that other species fear contain the rarest and most valuable resources in the universe. Materials that can only be found near sources of extreme heat and combustion. The energy being moved closer to the center of the room. These materials are necessary for the most advanced technologies. Faster than light travel, time manipulation, dimensional folding, consciousness transfer. But no species has ever been able to access these resources because no one could survive the fire worlds. Jake felt his heart racing. And you think humans could survive on these worlds? More than survive, Void Singer replied. If you can truly control fire as you demonstrate, you could build civilizations on worlds that would immediately kill any other species. You could access resources that we have only dreamed of for millions of years. Lisa stood up again. What would this mean for humanity? It would mean, Kethval said slowly, that humanity would become the most important species in the Galactic Council. Every civilization would want to be your ally. Every species would want to trade with you. You would have access to all our technologies, all our knowledge, all our resources. Jake looked around the room at hundreds of alien faces, all staring. At him with a mixture of hope and amazement. A few days ago, he had been just another human space explorer. Now he was apparently representing the most valuable species in the galaxy. There is one thing we would need to know first, Void Singer said. We would need proof that humans can truly survive and work on a fire world. We would need to see it with our own eyes. The room fell silent again. Jake realized that humanity was about to face the biggest test in their history. The Galactic Council decided to give humanity a test that would either prove them to be the most valuable species in the galaxy or show that they were dangerously crazy. The fire world they chose was called GC7745, and it was a planet that no alien species had ever been able to land on safely. They want us to prove we can survive and work on a world that would kill any other known species. Jake explained to his crew during their mission meeting. If we succeed, humanity gets full membership in the Galactic Council and unlimited access to all their technology. If we fail, we probably die in very unpleasant ways, finished Dr. Ben Carter, who was the mission's expert on rocks and minerals. But think about it this way. This is exactly the kind of world our ancestors had to deal with. Earth was not exactly a safe and easy place when humans first appeared. Jake looked around the table at his team. The human expedition consisted of 12 specialists. Besides himself as commander and Lisa Hayes as the alien expert, they had Pete Williams as their engineer, Ben Carter as their geology expert, doctor, Amy Johnson as their medic, Nick Torres as their communications specialist, and Maria Santos as their survival expert. The other 5 were specialists in different areas that might be needed on an unknown world. What exactly makes this planet so dangerous? Asked Amy Johnson. Ben Carter pulled up the data on his computer. According to the alien scans, GC7745, has active volcanoes covering about 60% of the surface. The atmosphere is about 30% methane, which means it could ignite if exposed to any spark. There are geysers shooting flammable gas hundreds of meters into the air. The surface temperature varies from freezing to hot enough to melt lead, depending on how close you are to volcanic activity. So basically, said Maria Santos with a grin, it's like Earth, but with more things trying to kill us. That's one way to put it, Jake replied. But here's the thing that gives me confidence. The aliens think this world is completely impossible to survive on. To us, it sounds like a challenging camping trip. Nick Torres was studying the communication equipment. The aliens are going to be watching us from what they consider a safe distance. That's about 3 times farther away than Earth's moon is from Earth. They're that scared of this planet. What are they most afraid of? Lisa asked. Chain reaction combustion, Ben explained. They think that any fire on the surface could spread through the methane in the atmosphere and turn the entire planet into a giant fireball. They've run computer models that show this happening within hours of any ignition. Pete Williams laughed. They've never heard of controlled burns or fire breaks, have they? We've been preventing forest fires from spreading for thousands of years. This is just forest fire prevention on a planetary scale. The team spent the next 2 days preparing for the mission. They packed equipment that seemed normal to them, but was completely alien to their observers. Fire extinguishers, flame-retardant clothing, portable stoves, waterproof matches, and dozens of other items that were designed to work safely around fire. The alien observation fleet watched in amazement as the human shuttle approached GC 7745. To them, what the humans were doing was like flying directly into the mouth of a cosmic monster. Base camp established, Maria Santos reported 6 hours after landing. Her voice was calm and professional, as if she had just set up camp in a normal Earth forest. We have got a controlled fire perimeter around our landing site. Basic shelter is up and running. Pete has already connected a geothermal power system, using the volcanic vents. The mineral deposits are exactly where Ben predicted they would be. The alien observers could not believe their instruments. The data they were receiving seemed impossible. Not only were the humans surviving on the fire world, they were actually thriving there. Commander Morrison, Cathvar's voice came through the communication system, and Jake could hear something he had never heard from the usually calm Zephyrian. It sounded like wonder. Your species is performing miracles. You are walking in the realm of the cosmic destroyer and making it serve your needs. It's not really a miracle, Jake replied, watching Pete work on setting up their mining equipment. We're just using techniques that humans have been developing for hundreds of thousands of years. The principles are the same whether you're dealing with a campfire or a volcanic planet. Within the first week, the human team had established a working mining operation. They used controlled explosions to extract the rare minerals from the volcanic rock. They harnessed the planet's natural combustion processes to power their equipment. They even started growing food in volcanic soil, using the heat from underground lava flows to create greenhouse conditions. The mineral quality is incredible. Ben Carter reported during one of their daily check-ins with the observation fleet. The extreme heat and pressure conditions on this planet have created materials that don't exist anywhere else. Some of these crystals could revolutionize faster than light travel. Dr. Amy Johnson was studying the planet's unique ecosystem. There's actually life here, she reported with excitement. Microorganisms that live in the volcanic vents, plants that grow in the cooled lava flows, even some small animals that seem to be adapted to the high-temperature environment. This isn't a dead world at all. It's just a world that other species couldn't survive on. The most amazing moment came during their 3rd week on the planet. A massive volcanic eruption occurred just 50 kilometers from their base camp. The alien observers prepared to watch the humans die in what they expected to be a planet-wide catastrophe. Instead, they watched the humans calmly implement their emergency procedures. Maria Santos directed the team in creating fire breaks around their camp. Pete Williams adjusted their power systems to handle the increased heat. Ben Carter used the eruption as an opportunity to study the planet's geological processes in real time. Eruption is under control, Jake reported to the stunned alien observers. No damage to our base camp. We're actually using the thermal energy from the eruption to increase our power generation. Estimated time to resume normal mining operations, 6 hours. The silence from the observation fleet lasted for several minutes. Finally, Void Singer's voice came through the communication system. Commander Morrison, what we have just witnessed should be impossible according to every scientific model we have ever developed. A volcanic eruption of that magnitude should have sterilized the entire continent. Only if you don't know how to handle it, Jake replied. We've been dealing with volcanic eruptions on Earth for as long as our species has existed. We know how to protect ourselves and how to use the energy they produce. By the end of their second month on GC 7745, the human team had not only survived, but had established a thriving colony. They had extracted enough rare minerals to make the mission profitable beyond anyone's wildest dreams. They had mapped the planet's geological systems. They had even discovered several new forms of life that were adapted to extreme heat environments. Mission accomplished, Jake reported to the Galactic Council. GC 7745 is not only habitable for humans, it's actually a very desirable world. We recommend immediate colonization efforts. The response from the Council was immediate and overwhelming. 17 different species submitted formal requests to form partnerships with humanity. The Zephyrians offered to share their atmospheric manipulation technology. The Crystalline Collective proposed joint research into the new materials the humans had discovered. The Aquatic Union wanted to establish trade agreements for the rare minerals. Commander Morrison, Kethvar said during the final communication, from GC 7745, your species has just changed the fundamental balance of power in the galaxy. You have proven that the impossible is possible. Welcome to the Galactic Council as full members. As Jake looked out at the volcanic landscape that had become humanity's first interstellar colony, he smiled. A planet that had terrified every other species in the galaxy was now home to 12 humans who were having the time of their lives. Fire, it turned out, was not humanity's enemy. It was their oldest friend, and it had just introduced them to the universe. 6 months after the successful Fire World mission, Jake Morrison found himself in a position he never could have imagined. He was now humanity's first official representative to the Galactic Council, and the council chambers that had once been filled with skeptical alien delegates were now buzzing with excitement and new project proposals. The implications are incredible, Dr. Lisa Hayes explained during a video conference with Earth's leadership. There are thousands of worlds throughout the galaxy that have been marked as uninhabitable because of fire-related dangers. Planets with the richest mineral deposits, the most strategic locations, the most valuable resources. All of them have been empty for millions of years because no known species could survive their fire environments. Pete Williams had been promoted to head something called the Human Galactic Engineering Exchange. He was now leading teams of human engineers who worked with alien scientists to develop new technologies. We are not just teaching them about fire. Control, he reported to Earth during one of his monthly updates. We are learning their advanced sciences and combining them with our fire-based technologies. The results are beyond anything we ever imagined. The breakthrough that changed everything came when human metalworkers, working with scientists from the Crystalline Collective, developed new metal alloys that could only be made in the extreme heat environments that humans could access. These materials made faster-than-light travel, safer, more efficient, and available to species that had never dreamed of such capabilities. What we are seeing, Jake told the assembled Earth leaders during one of his rare visits home, is the birth of a new era in galactic civilization. Every species brings something unique and valuable to the table. The Zephyrians have mastered controlling atmospheres on a planetary scale. The crystalline collective understands matter at the smallest possible level. The Aquatic Union has biological technology that is centuries ahead of anything we imagined. But we are the only ones who can work safely in fire environments. The partnership proved to be more beneficial than anyone had expected. Humans became the galaxy's fire specialists, leading expeditions to worlds that had previously been impossible to explore. In return, they gained access to technologies that advanced Earth's development by hundreds of years. More importantly, they discovered that their unique relationship with fire had given them something else that no other species had: a deep understanding of controlled destruction and renewal. Fire does not just destroy, Lisa explained to a gathering of scientists from 12 different species. It clears away the old to make room for the new. It breaks down complex materials into simpler forms that can be rebuilt into something better. It provides energy for transformation. Every forest fire on Earth leads to new growth. Every fire in a forge creates stronger metals. Every controlled burn prevents larger disasters. The alien scientists were fascinated by this concept. They had always seen fire as pure destruction, but humans showed them that fire could be a tool for creation and improvement. Jake stood once again at an observation window, but this time he was looking out at something that would have been impossible. Just a year ago, a fleet of ships from dozens of different species was heading toward their first joint fire world colonization mission. Human fire specialists were working alongside alien experts in a partnership that was reshaping the galaxy. Commander Morrison, Kethvar, approached him at the window. The Zephyrian leader had become one of Jake's closest allies in the council. "I have been thinking about what your species has taught us. It is not just about fire control. It is about facing the things that frighten us most and learning to work with them instead of avoiding them." Jake nodded. "That's a very human way of looking at things. We have always believed that the best way to deal with a dangerous thing is to understand it completely. And you can either avoid it safely or use it to your advantage. This philosophy has applications far beyond fire," Kethvar continued. "The Aquatic Union has been afraid of dry land for millions of years. But now they are working with human engineers to develop suits that will let them explore land-based fire worlds. The crystalline collective has always feared electromagnetic storms that could disrupt their crystalline bodies. But human shielding technology is helping them explore worlds with strong magnetic fields." Through the window, Jake could see their target planet. It was a world that glowed with volcanic activity, covered in flowing lava rivers and erupting geysers. To any other species, it would have been a vision of hell. To Jake Morrison and his human crew, it looked like home. "The universe is much bigger than we thought," Jake said to Kethvar, "and there is room in it for all of us, as long as we are willing to help each other face our fears." The first joint human galactic colony ship was ready to launch. It carried a crew of 200 beings from 15 different species. The humans would handle all the fire-related work, while the aliens would contribute their specialized knowledge in other areas. Together, they would build the first truly integrated galactic civilization. Dr. Amy Johnson, who had become the head of Human Galactic Medical Exchange, was excited about the possibilities. "We are learning so much from each other," she reported. "Zephyrian medicine can regrow lost limbs. Crystalline healing can repair damaged organs at the cellular level. Aquatic biotechnology can extend lifespans by hundreds of years. And human medicine, it turns out, is uniquely good at treating injuries caused by extreme heat and pressure. Maria Santos was now training the first class of alien fire safety specialists. "It is incredible to watch," she told Jake during one of their conversations. "These beings have been afraid of fire for their entire evolutionary history. But they are so eager to learn that they are overcoming millions of years of instinct. Yesterday, I watched a Zephyrian successfully light a campfire for the first time. She was so proud that she called her family on her home planet to tell them about it." The success of the human-alien partnership had effects that went far beyond just accessing fire worlds. The sharing of technologies and knowledge was advancing every member species at an unprecedented rate. The Galactic Council was undertaking exploration projects that had been impossible for millions of years. "We are not just opening up fire worlds," Void Singer explained during a council meeting. "We are opening up entire regions of the galaxy that were previously inaccessible. Star systems near active supernovas, planets in the corona zones of stars, asteroid belts with combustible atmospheres. The resources available to us have increased by thousands of %. Ben Carter was now leading geological surveys on 17 different fire worlds. "Each planet teaches us something new," he reported to the council. "The extreme conditions create materials and formations that simply cannot exist anywhere else. We have discovered crystals that can store energy for centuries, metals that become stronger when heated, and minerals that can bend space-time itself. Most surprising development was how much the aliens were helping humanity in return. Earth was being transformed by technologies that had seemed like magic just a year before. Cities were being built with crystalline collective growing techniques. Oceans were being cleaned using aquatic union biotechnology. The atmosphere was being managed with Zephyrian environmental control systems. It is not just about what humans can do for us," Kethvar explained to a gathering of council representatives. "It is about what we can all do together. Humans have shown us that the things we fear most might be the keys to our greatest achievements." Jake received a communication from Admiral Parker on Earth. "Jake, you need to see the latest reports from our scientists. The technologies we are getting from. Our alien partners are solving problems we did not even know we had. Cancer is now completely curable using crystalline healing techniques. We can grow food in any environment using aquatic biotechnology. We can control weather patterns using Zephyrian atmospheric manipulation." The success was not just technological. The cultural exchange was changing both humans and aliens in positive ways. Human children were learning alien languages and sciences. Alien young were learning human concepts like controlled risk-taking and creative problem-solving. "The most important thing we have learned," Lisa told Jake during a private conversation, "is that being afraid of something does not mean you should avoid it forever. Sometimes the things that scare us most are the things we most need to understand." As Jake watched the joint colonization fleet approach their destination, he thought about how much everything had changed. A year ago, humans had been newcomers to the galactic community, considered primitive and backward. Now they were essential partners in the greatest expansion of civilization in galactic history. The fire world below them was already showing signs of the new colony. Controlled fires burned in patterns across the landscape, creating safe zones for construction. Volcanic energy was being harnessed to power the growing settlement. What had once been considered an uninhabitable wasteland was becoming a thriving center of interspecies cooperation. "Commander Morrison," Nick Torres called from the communication station, "we are receiving a message from the colony's surface. They are ready to begin the next phase of construction." Jake smiled as he looked out at the volcanic landscape that would